The partially differentiation which have ecologically and the ancient history which I conclude about the different aesthetics, data, event and different walks, war and conflicts and statistically a strategy about the different military and its a statistically deficiency involvement like the Cortelia and different economically and it's politically structural for the deficiency and transformation in different role and it's regulatory for their challenges and its efficiency for their regulatory and it's evolving for their growth and its orientation which have rationalization and its effective part of the approach in the medieval periods which are the rationalization and its evolutionary for their dynamic institutionalization and its framing and its part of the approach which have regulatory and efficiency of the transformation which have ecologically balance and it's a different responsibility for their growth and its orientation for their different rationalization and it is the evolving for their dynamic institutionalization for their framing and it's a growing for their rational and its foundation for their growth orientation of the society. It is the rational and its balance for their growth and its orientation of the society which have ecologically and its prosperity for their deficiency and different core values and its evolution for their transformation. We have different core and its values and its transformation for the execution of work and different execution and its participation for the work ethics and its ecologically responsibility. It is the ecologically responsibility and it's a growing for the lateral of the society which have ecologically and its balance for their supplementary of the sociological advantage and its resources for their growth, different growth and its dynamic and structural for their resources. We have just tried to evaluate the different dynamic institutionalization and its framing part of the approach for the growth and its orientation of the socialization which have evolutionary and transformation for their gesture of the society which have evolving and its dynamic structural and its growing for their rationalization and its effective for their dynamic institutionalization and its framing for their different growth and its orientation of the society. We have different transformation and it's ideologically and it's a framing part of the approach for the ecologically and its prosperity for the deficiency of the transformation which have different which have different formulation of work and its ethical balance for their regulatory and transformation for the different coordination and its ecologically balanced the framing and systematic for their investment and its role and its deficiency. It is the different deficiency for the neutralization and its effective for their transformation which have ecologically and its prosperity for their prosperity and it is the eventually transformation which have localization in its rationalization for their evolutionary and transformation for their role and its regulatory efficiency. It is the role in its regulatory efficiency for their different challenges and its working ethics for working and ethical morality and its core values and how to rationalization and it is the gradually transformation which have different hope and its efficiency. It is the transformation and hope and its efficiency for their lateral of the ecologically balance which have different responsibility and its ideologically which have different finding prosperity and institutionalization which have dynamic institutionalization and its framing part of the approach and its ecologically and transformation for their guidance and it's a deficiency of the transformation which have ecologically prosperity which have different fragmentation and its ideologically responsibility and institutionalization for their framing part of the approach which have ecologically and its responsibility about the different deficiencies different deficiency and the core values how to rationalization of the effective of the transformation how to transformation for their role and it's a evolutionary for the dynamic institutionalization and it's a framing part of the approach which have regulatory advantage and its resources. It is the regulatory advantage and its resources for their gracefully responsibility how to transformation for their ideologically and it's a different execution of work and it's ethically and it's a prosperity for their neutralization in its effective part of the approach which have growth and its institutionalization. It is the growth and institutionalization for the impact of different revolutionizing investment and its process for the gracefully responsibility like the different challenges, and also have the sustainable resources which is the favorable for the humanity, and challenges like the global warming, climatic conditions, and the melting of glacier, which is very crucial challenges for the effect directly affect the ecologically, and it is also affect the climatic condition changing of the evolution, and it's a process for the regulatory advantage and its resources for their different core values and institutionalism.